Hello, in this video we will deal with the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine from 1913 and to Charles Richet for his work on anaphylaxis. First some work information coming from the official Nobel Prize site, then some biographical information coming from the same site, summarized by me, and then the award ceremony speech given to Richet. And in between that also quick look at the speed read, also coming from the Nobel Prize site. First, an explanation why he received the prize, which was formulated later, not in 1913, but later. Our immune system protects us from attacks by microorganisms and poisonous substances. After experiencing an attack, the immune system learns to defend itself against new attacks. We become immune. One of the ways which is used with vaccination when a low dosage of an infectious substance provides immunity. Through studies involving dogs, Charles Richet demonstrated an opposite effect in 1902. After an initial low dose of substance, a new dose some weeks later could produce a severe reaction. He called the phenomenon anaphylaxis. The result had important implications for our understanding of allergies. As said, this is coming from the official site. Here you can follow the link if you want to go to that site. You see some of the symptoms of the phenomenon described, the anaphylaxis. Well, if you want to read them, you better pause the video. This is also coming from, as always, the illustrations are coming from the commons part of Wikimedia. There's a biographical information summarized by me, also coming from the official site of the Nobel Prizes. In physiology, he, this is of course Charles Richet, worked out the mechanisms of the thermoregulation in homeothermic animals, thus animals with the steady temperature. Before his researches, 1895 on polypneuma and the shivering due to temperature, little was known about the method by which mammals deprived of cutaneous inspiration can guard against overheating and how chilled animals can warm themselves again. In experimental therapeutic, Richet showed that the blood of animals vaccinated against an infection protects against this infection. November 1888. Applying this principle to tuberculosis, he did first serotherapeutic injection done in men in December 6, 1890. In 1900, Charles Richet showed that feeding milk and raw meat, zomotherapy, might cure tuberculosis dogs. In 1901, he established that by decreasing the sodium chloride in food, potassium bromide is rendered so effective for the treatment of epilepsy that the therapeutic dosage falls from 10 grams to 2 grams. In 1913, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for research on anaphylaxis. He invented this word to designate the sensitivity developed by an organism after it had been given a parenteral infection of a colloid or protein substance or a toxin, 1902. Later he demonstrated the effect of passive anaphylaxis and anaphylaxis in vitro. The applications of anaphylaxis to medicine are extremely numerous. Already in 1913, over 4,000 memoirs have been published on this question, and it plays an important part nowadays in pathology. He showed that, in fact, parenteral infection of protein substance modifies profoundly and permanently the chemical constitution of body fluids. Most of Charles Richet's physiological works, scattered in various scientific journals, were published. Works of Physiological Laboratory of the Faculty of Medicine in Paris. As you can see, this is coming from the official Nobel Prize site. You can follow the link if you want to read the complete, and this is a summary. Then the speed read, also coming from that site. Through a series of experiments, Charles Richet demonstrated that this adverse response, which he termed anaphylaxis, was far from being an accident or an aberration, as many scientists in the field had thought. Working with Paul Potier, Richet discovered that dogs had received an injection of sea anemone poison without any notable distress, always went into shock and died quickly after receiving a weaker dose a set amount of days later. Instead of raising tolerance towards the toxin as expected, the initial dose in fact made animals highly sensitive for a set period of time to even minuscule amounts of the poison. Systematically administering a number of poisons in this manner and examining the violent reaction led Richet to conclude that anaphylaxis behaves in a similar but opposite manner to immunity. For instance, reactions were specific to the poison in question, and transferring blood from an affected animal to a healthy one could provoke hypersensitivity to the toxin. Identifying the principal triggers for anaphylaxis and early alarming symptoms led to the creation of a valuable medical warning system. Physicians could now identify patients who might be sensitive to treatment for infectious diseases that contain toxins from bacteria such as diphtheria. More recently, this adverse immune response has become the object of intense scrutiny in a completely different area. Anaphylaxis is thought to be the cause of adverse reactions that a small number of individuals have towards certain proteins found in our food. As you see, this is also coming from the official side. It's not complete. I have summarized a bit, as you can see. If you want to read the complete speed read on this, you can follow this link. And you can see that it was first produced in 2010, and it's part of a series of AstraZeneca Nobel Medicine Initiative. You see a skin reaction with anaphylaxis. Yeah? And you see a skin allergy testing carried out on the right arm. You see, this is of course linked. Anaphylaxis is of course linked to allergies. Then we go to the award ceremony speech by Professor C. Sundberg. First is described the history of the subject before Richet enters the field, and you can see this is quoted but summarized by me. Anaphylaxis is analogous in several ways to the phenomenon of immunity. Both are specific in that they apply only to the toxin used for the previous dose. Both require a period of incubation. They are both constant to a certain point and last as characteristic feature of the organism for a considerable time. In 1888, in other words, as well before serum treatment, which is now so generally used in the fight against different contagious diseases, was known, Richet had proved that immunity could be transferred experimentally from one animal to another, not so far immunized by injecting blood serum of the first into the second, in other words, by passive immunization. Richet's next step was to find out whether these findings on passive immunization were equally applicable to anaphylaxis. In effect, he demonstrated that anaphylactic hypersensitivity could be transferred from one animal to another by injection of blood serum from the animal anaphylactized. This fact could serve as a basis for methods aiming at ascertaining in man an ailment suspected of being anaphylactic was in fact so or not. As to the bearing of anaphylaxis on pathology, it was naturally of prime importance. One feature of anaphylactic intoxication is that the symptoms are almost identical in all cases to anaphylaxis, whatever the toxic agent, and to a certain point, whatever animal treated. The symptoms show certain general characteristics: lowered blood pressure, paralysis of high brain functions, dyspnoea, low temperature, etc. The subject who survives a severe anaphylactic shock acquires by so doing diminished susceptibility. He is immunized. These last 2 points have led to a theoretical research of vast scope which is not yet completed. It is as a physiological research worker that Richet discovered the phenomenon of anaphylaxis. If it is true that any... Sorry, start the sentence again. It is as a physiological research worker that Richet discovered the phenomenon of anaphylaxis. If it is true that any knowledge of a new principle underlying the phenomenon of life brings you a step nearer to understanding organic life itself, then Richet, by his original contribution just outlined, has rendered biology sterling service and deserved the highest recognition. Anaphylaxis has already been carried into the field of medical practice. The materials that can be used to induce anaphylaxis are very numerous. I shall confine myself to enumerating the different forms of proteins of alien origin to the subject and of inoffensive appearance, called proteins alien to the species, such as coloring matter of the milk, white of egg, fish protein, oysters, tumor cells, vegetable protein, for example, of the pollen that causes hay fever, microbial microbiological, probably extracts, etc. On the basis of the discovery of anaphylaxis, a series of investigations, very important for knowledge of the diseases, has been inaugurated on what is called the idiosyncrasies, or the individual reactions pertaining to each subject towards certain protein foodstuffs. Richet himself has taken part in this work, particularly in respect of different meats. In this sphere, research is still only in its infancy, and it would be premature to make any pronouncement on these questions. It may, however, be said that Richet's discovery has revealed the first of these phenomena which had been clearly proved and plainly understood. This is one of the central discoveries of medical science, physiology, and pathology in recent times. Professor Richet, in one of your numerous works, which have embraced so many branches of human culture, you uttered the stimulating expression laborismus. The diligence with which you have followed your maxim was won for you above all a reputation in the medical science. It is to this science that you have devoted the greater part of your unremitting labors, and you have enriched it with ideas and new knowledge. Your greatest success has been the discovery of anaphylaxis, an outstanding scientific achievement. In an age in which the leading members of the medical profession tend to concentrate on innumerable experiments demonstrating the growing immunity of the organism towards poisons, already resulted in very successful ones, since you, sir, have found that in certain cases a complete opposite result is produced. You did not restrict yourself to this isolated observation. Studied in depth by you, it has become the foundation on which you have based the evidence of a reaction that is sometimes just as regular as the phenomenon of immunity. We are not concerned solely with specific prophylaxis. Thanks to you, we are now aware of a specific anaphylaxis. Okay, this was the summary of the award ceremony speech. If you want to read the complete speech, of course, follow this link, which leads you to the official Nobel Prize site, as always. Here again, see a patch test, searching for reactions, allergic reactions, which of course link to anaphylaxis. And here you see an older version of the E-pen auto-injector, which is of course against anaphylaxis, as you can here see, for allergic emergency, between brackets, anaphylaxis. Illustrations are coming, as always, from Wikipedia, from the Commons. Next week, we will go into the Nobel Prize lecture given by Charles Richet. For now, thank you for watching, and maybe until another time.